Good morning to you and welcome. This is the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of May, 2024. Apologies for starting the show quite late this morning, but hey, we are trying as much as we can to just move forward with our lives this morning. Anyway, the news doesn't wait. We have the tripartite minimum wage negotiation meeting involving organized labor, the federal government and the state governments and the organized private sector on Tuesday. We had it end in a deadlock following Labour's dismissal of the government's 54,000 naira offer as expected. Now, Labour leaders also lamented the absence of state governors in the meeting to present their offers. Well, it's a thing of concern at this point to have state governors be absent at this meeting, because you know that even if no matter what figure is arrived at the end of this negotiation meeting, if the governors do not agree to pay these monies, then we'll be having issues of salaries being owed and different issues like that. But let's watch and see how that plays out. The federal government has increased their offer from 48,000 naira now to 54,000 naira. Well, moving on to another headline this morning. Suspected bandits reportedly killed over 40 persons after they attacked Zurak village in Bashar district of Wase, local government area of Plateau State. Armed men invaded the community when people in the community were about to retire after their normal daily activities. We're still seeing different issues with bandits here and there. Anyway, let's speak with Rufai, Oseni, and just go through some of these headlines. Then we'll speak with Mr. Larry in just a moment. Hello. Hello. All right, I will try as much as I can to reconnect with Mr. Oseni this morning. There's a lot happening in the news. We know that River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara inaugurated 8 commissioners. Good morning, Mr. Rufai.
Hello, Gessie. I'll call you back in a bit. I mean, I don't know. I thought you should have called me, but I'll call you back in a bit, please.
All right. Okay, we have Siminalayi Fubara inaugurating 8 commissioners cleared by the 3 lawmakers led by Victor Oko Jumbo. The governor made this known Tuesday night in a tweet on his X handle. You also have 2 individuals who were ex-commissioners for Wike screened to join the Fubara's cabinet as well. Really interesting to see what is playing out in Rivers State and to see that a Rivers governor is not being deterred by the drama that is playing out. Now, the House of Reps on Tuesday urged the IGP to carry out a comprehensive mop-up of all arms, ammunitions, AK-47 rifles, cutlasses, and other weapons in the possessions of herders and individuals, and to prohibit the public from carrying such arms and weapons. This is in line with the farmers herders clashes that we've been seeing up and down. You know that the herders usually carry these weapons just to protect themselves, and also, let's say a cow was caught in the bushels, right? So they need that to help them, clear the grasses and all that, or clear whatever issues that they might be stumbling upon. Moving on to another headline, suspected members of ISWAP have killed a senior police officer in Borno State. It was gathered that ISWAP members sneaked into New Mate at about 7:30 p.m. on Monday and attacked a health worker who fortunately escaped. Well, we'll wait and see just what the governor in Borno State will have to say about this, because we thought we'd heard the last of ISWAP in Borno State, but they seem to be rearing their ugly heads once again. Well, in Dawaki area here in Abuja, there was an issue of kidnappers attacking some residents in that particular area. Let's take a listen.
Yes. Good morning, Nigerians. This is Dawaki Rockhaven Estate, where the incident happened. Today is 21st of May 2024. So this is the entry point where those people came in, and the community is taking charge to bring in gates and security to the place. You can see We thank the military, the DSS, and the police that involved in the rescue of some of our people, and we still have many of them there.
All right. Around 7 p.m. on Sunday, some armed bandits were said to have raided houses on Frankopara Street before security operatives responded to distress calls. So about 15 persons were kidnapped. 7 hostages are yet to be released. As at news, as at press time, their families are yet to also be contacted as well. Now, the traditional ruler lamented that bandits have created a base behind the Zuma Rock in the Chachi community near Dakawa in the neighboring Niger state. So according to those that escaped, they promised to attack again because they have not met their target. This issue of bandits and kidnapping is one that we need to end once and for all. I don't know if that is even possible at this point, because when you see the nature of what's happening in the country, people are hungry, people are suffering. So they're seeing kidnapping as a very lucrative business at this point. Hopefully we see an end to it. There was a protest in London, a pro Yahaya Bello group stage protest in London. They said let Kogi breathe. They are supporting Yahaya Bello. And they said say no to selective justice, say no to selective justice, alliance for Yahaya Bello and all of that. I really don't understand what the alliance for Yahaya Bello is at this point. Why all the protests, right? If he doesn't have skeletons in his cupboard, he should go and let due process be followed. And let the court, declare him not guilty or guilty, as the case may be. Whichever is the case, let's see how that plays out between the EFCC and Yahaya Bello. Now, we have this particular statement about President Tinubu and, looking at the journey so far during his administration, the road to 1 year journey in the Tinubu's administration. And this particular conversation was had with Osita Okechukwu, a former DG of Voice of Nigeria and an APC chieftain. And he talked about the borrowing for subsidies, and there's no way there won't be inflation and poverty and all that. He had a lot to say about what's going on in this particular administration. But let's have a short conversation with Rufai Oseni first, and then we'll go on to have a conversation with Mr. Larry Ogoego. Hello, Mr. Rufai. Good morning.
Yeah, Gessie, please, real quickly. I know that my time is just quite spent this morning, so can you just tell me some stories you want me to comment on?
All right.
Along the way, but I'll still come back to you. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. We had this particular headline amid calls for to cut cost of governance. Kano lawmakers are getting 2.7 billion naira worth of vehicles.
Okay, I'll come back to you soon. Just a minute or two. Just stay on the line, please. Yeah.
All right. We'll finish up that conversation with Mr. Rufai in a bit. While we're waiting for him to get back to us, we have the Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State saying that he started taking decisions as a governor in February 2024, and he spoke at the Egbeda Community Secondary School field, venue of the inauguration of some internal road projects in Delta State by the Delta State Governor Sheriff Obovere Wori. Reiterated that the projects people were seeing were accomplishments of 4 months. Really, really interesting what you can accomplish. We've seen Alex Otti show us that it's possible to not play politics with governance, right? It's possible to see efficient and effective governance. Well, I don't know about the other governors and what they've been doing, but Alex Otti will be the beacon. He will be the yardstick with which we'll judge other governors at this point. Now, this particular conversation, the cutting cost of governance, we're seeing Kano lawmakers getting 2.7 billion naira worth of vehicles. Why is it that our lawmakers are always carrying vehicles like Oshuka on their head? Is it that important to carry? So the governor's chief of staff, Shehu Wada Sagaji, informed journalists that they deserved reliable vehicles for their work. Now, the recent gift of luxury vehicles valued at 2.7 billion naira from Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf to the State
Hello,
House.
Gussie. Good morning.
Yes. You're welcome back,
Yeah, so
Mr.
sorry.
Rufai.
Yeah, so sorry. So, it just speaks volumes about our system. And when I saw the Kano story, I was taken aback because this is us that we're saying we want to cut the cost of governance, and at the same time, we're, you know, expending and wasting monies like that on frivolities like vehicles and things like that. When the monies ought to be used for the people, ought to be used for infrastructure, for healthcare. So the problem in governance has always been prioritization. How well do we prioritize? What do we prioritize? What are the things that are emergent, to the people? I think those are the most important questions. And once we don't do it, we don't get anything done.
All right, moving on to another story here. We've been seeing incessant attacks of bandits and kidnappers here and there in Abuja. Somewhere very very close to the city center, we had a recent attack of bandits where they attacked into their homes, got into their homes and attacked different individuals. I don't know what we can do about this, Mr. Rufai, because yes, poverty is reigning. Yes, we have a lot of people that are hungry, but not everyone is going into kidnappings and using it as a lucrative form of business. I don't know if the federal government is.
No. Poverty is not justification for kidnapping. Let's not say because of poverty, because everybody, when you look at it by Nigeria standards, have some level of poverty they're dealing with, but not everybody goes to crime. The reason why people go to crime is because it is easier to get away with it. That's what government should now try to stop. Make them face the consequences. If you're caught for banditry, let the full wrath of the law take its effect, and government should be able to bolster security. I think that's the most important thing. And I think the military should focus on that rather than going to shut down Banex Plaza in Abuja because of an impasse with some traders, which is a very sad one.
I saw a headline yesterday from Vanguard newspaper about a soldier who slapped a lady into coma. I don't know if you saw that headline. It was really interesting for me to read that. And we saw what played out in the Kwama community where there was a retaliatory, the army said anyway that there was no retaliation on the community. But we saw that play out in Okwama community. And now we're seeing it in Banex. It just seems as though the army just takes matters into their own hands and does what they do.
And that's why the market association is just that they are not going to be bold enough because they don't want repercussions. They should be able to take the army to task. Go seek legal redress as regards this once and for all. Go seek legal redress as regards this. The army cannot keep. We're not a military regime. The army just takes over everything. So because two army officers had an altercation, which we condemn. We don't condemn beating or anything or hurting of our troops because we appreciate the work they're doing for them. Because two of them have an altercation. So the army now goes to bring an entire shopping plaza down. When the altercation was happening, why didn't they reach out to the association, the market association? Because almost every market must have an association. Why didn't they reach out to them? So is this solution going to bring down the marketplace down? Is that the best solution possible that we can have for this? And why are we always very harsh in these measures? And the army does that and gets away with it. Anyway, they have already a case to answer in court as regards to Kwama. Maybe Banex should be able to put their own to it, see if they can follow it.
All right. Organized labor walked out of conversations with government proposing 54,000 naira minimum wage. 54,000 naira. What's your take on that?
I think that's ridiculous by government. That is sad. Totally organized labor working out. All I don't support organized labor for is the 15,000 minimum wage. That's not going to work. But I totally support them working out this ridiculous. The government should up that figure, and I support them on that.
Mr. Rufai, what's a figure that you would accept?
I've always told you a timeline. Between 100 to 250,000. I think that's decent. Between 100 to 250,000. That's decent.
Okay.
So it's a range I could give between 100 to 250,000, but not 54,000. Never. All
right. In the news, there's been talks of a potential merger between the Atiku and Peter Obi, and the federal government had a response for that. They said Atiku and Obi are desperate and can't be trusted with power. Not the federal government now, APC. They're saying that they're desperate and can't be trusted with power. I don't know how come we're facing 2027 politics right now when we have a lot of issues on ground.
No, but the politicking has started, and you see when the incumbent government is not doing well, they start to be on the defensive every time. So I don't see why the visit between Atiku and Obi will cause any uproar. But Felix Morka just had to reply and said, "Oh, they are not good enough," and all of that. Which those things are not good.
All right, but do you
So
think
that's just it.
there would be a chance at an Atiku and Obi merger? Because we saw that play out during the Muhammadu Buhari's before.
I don't know. Ball in front of me, I'll be predicting tomorrow. I don't know. Honestly, I don't. All of this just situations in the world. They happen. They may not happen.
Hmm.
Yes, must be able to run
Hello, Mr.
comeback
Rufai.
on you.
All right, we're having some network issues there. We'll try as much as I can to get back to that conversation. Yes, but the APC on Tuesday have dismissed a potential merger talk between the PDP presidential candidate of the 2023 elections, Atiku Abubakar, and the standard bearer of the Labour Party in the elections, also Peter Obi, in a statement. And they described Atiku and Obi as desperate politicians who could not be trusted with power. You begin to see that there's no even, there's the merger has not even been decided
These are the
upon.
things we need to do. What?
No. We're still talking about the Peter Obi and Atiku possible merger.
No. That's not it. They're just political talks and conversations in the first frame. So they're just political talks.
All right.
Yeah.
So, foremost Northern Mouthpiece, the Arewa Consultative Forum, they've lamented that some of the policies of this particular administration is responsible for the deteriorating standard of living, inflation, and unemployment in Nigeria.
Well, they're correct. They're correct, and that is crystal clear. I mean, we've seen it. Those two policies, floating the naira, and also the subsidy removal. I mean, we've seen it. It's cost over 11% inflation rate, and it's cost a lot of pain for the people. I mean, and those are the policies that are hurting a lot of people as we speak. So I'd like to say thank you for your time, Gessie.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, to you listening, we are live on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. Join us live on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. We'll take a break right now and pay some bills. When we come back, I'll be speaking with Mr. Larry Oguego. Make sure you keep it locked right here. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. This is still the voice of the people, 96.1 FM. My name is Gesiri, and of course, we're continuing the conversation, checking out different headlines this morning. We have Mr. Larry on the phone. Good morning, Mr. Larry, and welcome.
Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning
How's
to
the
you.
temperature today?
It's going very well. So we have lawmakers, Kano lawmakers, getting 2.7 billion naira worth of vehicles. I mean, the assembly, which is a mix of 25 members from the governors, NNPP, and 14 from the APC, with one undecided seat, is now under scrutiny for accepting such a controversial gift. A very, very luxurious gift, 68 million naira SUV each. Mr. Larry, I don't know why the lawmakers would need such an expensive car. I don't know what the relevance of it in lawmaking or governance. I don't know what that vehicle is doing in the place of lawmaking in this country.
I guess the reason is simple. This is legislative bribery. This is why we don't have a functional legislative arm of government in Nigeria. Because the average politician gets into politics primarily to feather his nest. The average politician gets into politics primarily to amass wealth. You find out that they don't really care about how we perceive them. Some of these guys who collected 68 million naira worth of vehicles actually didn't have vehicles worth 6.8 million naira before. Some of them may not have their own private homes. But they're not thinking about why they were elected by the people. They're not thinking about that. They have forgotten the legacy of Aminu Kano. It's sad, it's shocking. Do you know that Aminu Kano, when he was contesting for elections, actually traveled from Kano to Enugu by rail? The only candidate to do that. It was actually my friend's dad that went to the railway station to receive Aminu Kano, who came for campaigns from the north by train to Enugu. And then what is the legacy that he left for Nigeria? If Kano State will share 68 million naira worth of vehicles and the politicians will collect. But this is a man who had the privilege of belonging to the elite political class, and he dumped it just so that the poor people will breathe. And now the poor people come together and elect others to represent them. And what do? They go there and share vehicles worth 68 million. This is the amount of money that can transform the lives of a lot of people in their constituencies. They rather just share the money. That's why we all say that there are two kinds of people in Nigeria, the rich and the poor. Two political parties and political leanings, the rich and the poor. Two tribes, rich and poor. You can even say two religious affiliations, rich and poor. It's just about that. There are some people who are rich, the others are poor. And the poor people are doing everything they can to migrate to the elite class without thinking about the fact that it is better for all of us to have money, to have resources, than for a few persons to drive around in cars worth 68 million, and then the rest of the people will not only be envious and angry, but may begin to ask themselves, so why can't I do anything I have to do to lay my hands on machines like this? It's sickening from the state of Malam Aminu Kano. It shows that the corporate bribery, the political bribery culture has come to stay. So you prioritize giving these guys that much money than taking care of the people. What are they doing with those cars? I mean, don't we have more modest vehicles they can use? Can't we become saying, have a carpool? Why can't we just do what is right? Have a carpool. You're a member of the House of Assembly. You use the car from the carpool. When you finish your tenure, you go, the car stays there. We can't buy cars for civil servants who run the states, but we buy cars for legislators who very often do not even justify The taxpayers' money that is spent on them. I really feel sad about this. We can't belabor this matter. We know how to express passage of whatever views we want. So we're not running a democracy. The governor has everything in his pocket: the judiciary, the executive arm of government, everybody, the chiefs, the state, basically. And that is why we are not functioning properly as a nation. We cannot function properly when we have security problems and we are buying cars worth 68 million for people who, as far as I'm concerned, are doing next to nothing to be a blessing to their state or to their nation. Shame on the people who made this choice, and shame on those people who received these vehicles. It's a travesty in the kind of Nigeria we are living in today.
Mr. Larry, this is really confusing to me, or concerning to me, because I'm wondering the level of development in Kano State, that you have people driving 68 million naira vehicles. So what exactly is the level of development there? You have a state that is boasting of a lot of natural resources.
You're stating the obvious. This is why we have a political class that is not trusted by the people, that is hated by the people. We have a political class that is more interested in furthering their nest. They don't know the purpose of power. They don't know that power is entrusted to them so that they can be a blessing to the people. They don't understand all of these things. The scramble for power is primarily for relevance, so that they can make more money, have more influence, and enjoy themselves with their cronies. That is what they understand that power is supposed to be for. They don't really understand why they are supposed to be there. Whether they are elected, selected, rigged into power, all of them end up being the same thing to different extents. So it's not even like, oh, you have this understanding that because I passed through the eye of the needle to get there. I know what this governor passed through. I mean, my expectation is that if he becomes governor after all the travails, that he will understand how the people supported him. He will understand that he has a mandate, that you can trace his political genealogy to Aminu Kano. They don't understand. They don't have a sense of history. They don't have a sense of purpose. They don't have vision. The only thing they know how to do is to hold on to power and money. And until the people understand this and stop helping them to perpetuate themselves in these offices, until people understand that going to London to disgrace us because of a disgraced political actor who doesn't understand the reason for politics and power, until the people understand really that it's our duty to hold them accountable, we can't stop this shameful behavior. We also have a duty, because this is the same man that people fought for to be governor. And this is how he's rewarding them. You share the more than 2 billion naira worth of it. Do you know what 2 billion will do to the education sector in Kano? Do you know what 2 billion will do to health, to infrastructure? If properly used, and you are sharing the money to legislators so that anything you want, they will give you.
The leather industry in Kano, the leather alone in Kano. You
know, I guess, let me tell you the truth. We don't have leaders in Nigeria. Chinua Achebe said it in The Trouble with Nigeria. We don't have leaders. Basically, a problem of leadership. Because just mention the leather industry. That leather industry alone can make Kano one of the wealthiest states in Nigeria. Just like I said the other day, the footwear industry and apparel industry can make Abia one of the wealthiest states in Nigeria without any oil, go to other countries that are entrepreneurial. Look at Taiwan. Look at the kind of resources they command. Tiny island, how many persons are there? Look at Singapore. Look at Rwanda. Let's forget those ones. They are whites. Look at Rwanda, a desolate land a few years ago. Look at what they're doing. And then we are here sharing SUV and complaining about bandits. It's sad, because the people don't even understand. Rather than fight back and stop this madness, they are queuing for their turn. Oh, it's turn by turn. It's like standing fan. Today it will blow them, tomorrow it will blow me. What nonsense. The problem is that the people do not understand that this is not right. They are waiting for their turn to collect, either to collect SUV or to collect bag of rice. We're a sharing nation. They're going to go to Abuja to share. revenue. People will go to share palliative. Everybody just share. Nobody's thinking of productivity. Just share vehicles, share rice, share money, share attack allocation, share. We are not thinking of what are we sharing, who is supplying what we are sharing. Can't we just sit and say, okay, this cake we're sharing, can we bake? No, we're just sharing. And that's why we're in that war spiral.
Mr. Larry, the irony of all
spiral.
this is when some of these people leave office, you see them going broke, very, very broke. You see the lawmakers, a shadow of themselves. You see the vehicle that's this 68 million naira vehicle. They are begging people for money to fill those vehicles.
They will sell the vehicles for 10 million, 15 million, they spend the money. And the reason is simple. If you give a man a vehicle worth 68 million and the person doesn't have the capacity to produce wealth worth even 20 million, he cannot manage the vehicle. He's on life support. These people are on financial and economic life support. The day they stop stealing or the day they stop being in positions of political appointment, they can't maintain those vehicles. They will sell them to people who earn their money. That is, people who understand how to create wealth. It's the truth. So it's not even about that's why I get upset when we talk about palliatives and sharing money to people. Every day we're sharing money. We're making them dependent on handouts. That's not how to run a nation. There is a place where there's an emergency and people are extremely pressed and you help them. But to make it a state policy that you share trader money, you share this, you share that, every day you're sharing, you're making people dependent on handouts. You are creating a class of people who are becoming dependent on the things you dash them. They begin to have an entitlement mentality. So give us this, you give us that, you are not teaching them to produce and fend for themselves. No, you are interested in just share because Nigeria is becoming a sharing nation. In fact, we have become a sharing nation. That is the truth of the matter. And that is what we are witnessing in Kano State. They are sharing money, sharing cars, sharing for a state that passed through the eye of the needle to get here. And if the other governor took the seat, he would have still been sharing. We need to be careful about how we manage these political elites because they are ruining everything for all of us. Unfortunately, the people are aspiring to be like them. Check the young man on the street. What do you want to be, a politician? Is politician a career?
It's so sad that until recently, precisely from 1999, when the current Fourth Republic commenced, Kano State used to be at the forefront in spearheading masterpiece policies, inspiring other states and the federal governments to emulate and replicate. Now look what they've turned into. Anyway, moving on to another story right here. We talked about the minimum wage. 54,000 naira is the fresh offer that the federal government is offering labor. Earlier, I spoke with Mr. Rufai, and he said anything below 100,000 naira shouldn't be accepted by labor.
On my own part, minimum wage shouldn't be above 100,000. And I don't have any apologies for that. I don't think, you see, we have to look at so many issues arising from this minimum wage. We are crying about the devaluation of the naira, and we are calculating minimum wage based on the extreme devaluation. We are hoping that the naira will bounce back. So let us assume that the naira bounces back like some Nigerians wish to 1 naira to $1. Not that it's going to happen, but I'm just imagining. Let us assume by some kind of miracle it happens. So it means that people will now be earning equivalent to $50,000 or $200,000 per month. You see, you have to decide where you want to go with your life, and then your plan to go there. If you are, for instance, targeting naira to stabilize at about 800 ultimately, or say 1,000, then you have to use that benchmark to calculate. And then apart from the naira thing, you check the productivity of the gross domestic product of the nation. What are we producing as a nation? We don't just pay money for the purpose of paying money. The civil servants are paying money, and the workers generally, not just civil servants. The gross domestic product of the nation means what all of us are producing. Then you use the number of people in the country to divide it. So when you look at all parameters, I don't see how we should be looking at more than 100,000. And then if we go and do 300,000 or any of those kind of monies we are banding about, we will destroy in fact, you see the real inflation again, another cycle of inflation driven by excessive cash in the system. You see a massive distortion in the economy because private sector can't jack up their minimum wage to 300,000. It won't work. So what are people who work for small businesses and enterprises? So I think we need to be cautious. But then it's also the politicians that are fueling this crisis, because when you're sharing cars worth 68 million to people who are not doing anything significant, why won't another person ask for 600,000 minimum wage?
After all, you can afford it.
If you can afford to share vehicles worth 68 million to people who are not really making significant contributions, as far as we all know, then why won't people who are working say, pay me 600,000, pay me 500,000? They are creating the problems. And tomorrow they will say, we can't pay. But look at what they are doing. So it's difficult to really understand how our leaders think. But because they take the people for granted, they think anyhow. As far as the minimum wage is concerned, we should tread cautiously. Let's not belabor the matter. The federal government is inching up slowly, because I'm sure that inside their own minds they have a benchmark too. And if we are not careful, maybe we'll get to that point where we go on strike, have issues, and then wake up to the reality that it won't exceed this point, and then we'll leave it there. But I don't think it's more than 100,000.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for your time. I absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I hope we are listening to the voice of the people. I'm sad about Kano, and I hope that particular governor and the people who collected that money will understand that the people are watching. This is the worst gift they can give to the people of Kano who supported them through the dark times. It's embarrassing, it's shameful. But let's see how Kano unfolds. I think we should be doing all eyes on Kano and all eyes on all the states that will decide to share the money like this, not just in cash, but in other ways. We can't afford it at this time. Governance should become the primary purpose of government, security and welfare of the people, not of the legislators, not of the politicians. We need to keep our eyes on these people and do a record sheet for them and begin to check what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. And people at times, they should wake up. They should ask questions, not just support people blindly because of their party affiliation. I hope the people are also listening to the voice of the people. Do have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead. All right. Thank you for listening to VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire. Coming up at 8:30, we'll be having the sports bit. Good morning.